So I started thinking about this the other day when the market started being a little bit choppy. That I really, really hope that Trump has the stomach to not do bailout again of the banks if we have some kind of economic turbulence. Because in 2008, like I'm going to get into that in a second, we had this like ungodly situation where like geez, like I'm so jealous of the bankers. Like
really?
Like imagine like committing fraud to the highest extent where you're like literally like lying to your clients about what you're selling them and then betting that they're going to fail because of the thing you told them to do. And then when they lose a bunch of money, you lose a bunch of money. The government takes the taxpayers' money and gives it to you to bail you out. And you and they said to them, "All right, we're gonna bail you out, but like you have to promise you're gonna start lending to small businesses because we need to stimulate the economy." Like, yeah, totally, we got you.
Oh man!
And they just gave themselves giant.
That's
bonuses.
what happened during Obama, right?
Yeah. Because Obama
banks.
like hired like a bunch of Citigroup people like onto his staff after he was complaining about the banks.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Listen, because we've had Ian Carroll on the program before he launched into superstardom and went on Joe Rogan and Candace Owens, and one of the first things he said is what woke him up to the deep state and reading about these topics was the banking crisis of 2008, specifically when Barack Obama was then given a list of the bankers that all were responsible for the crash being put in charge of now fixing the crash that they created.
Right.
Yeah, weird.
No, it was like the ultimate hookup. Allegedly. I mean that part.
Sorry, I just like to...
I know. But so I want to talk about the great banking consolidation because Richard Werner brought this up the other day and he was saying how the thing that really determines how good an economy does is how many small banks you have, and like our small banks since this happened have been like obliterated. Like they've all been gobbled up by JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, and the big ones. You can go to the next one. That's new banks started by year, and then go to the next one. So you see all the big ones are kind of gobbling up the small ones. So J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs.
$4 trillion?
Yeah, that's what they manage.
That's, jeez.
Yeah.
So Bank of America, Wells Fargo, who else? Goldman Sachs, Citi,
Morgan
PNC,
Stanley.
I've heard of, Capital One, obviously, all these.
And these are all the guys who kind of are the shareholders of the Federal Reserve, too. So it's a funny thing where like the Fed gets to give out money, but then like the banks are in charge of the Fed.
That's
And don't even get me started on who owns these banks going way back.
Do you bank with a small local bank or do you bank with one of the big globalist elites?
Unfortunately, I bank with mostly with J.P. Morgan because
don't say the bank. Yeah, I was trying to predict you. Okay, go ahead. Fine.
No, yeah, because I mean I know they're gonna get bailed out if there's a collapse. That's an unfortunate thing. But the small banks, if they do like have some sort of problem, they don't get bailed out.
My parents are in a small local bank and they've encouraged me and have gotten upset with me for not doing it. They have been very much against the large banks for some time.
Yeah.
And I remember my parents were the ones that how old were you guys when you got your first bank account?
In the military.
Yeah, really?
Oh, yeah.
I think I was
join
like
the
13
military.
or 14, something
I was
like
born
that.
with one.
Oh, I never.
Wait, what? I mean, we learn so much about you every podcast. First, there's some mountainous range your grandparents owned and they had a helicopter. And now I find out you were born with a bank
but-
account?
He killed his first man at 13 with his bare hands.
But sometimes when you're a kid, they open a bank account so they can start putting money away from you in your name.
That's nice.
That's
I
nice.
don't know, that's sweet.
Yeah, I can't
My
relate to
grandfather
that
used to
one.
steal money from my piggy bank.
That's not common here.
No, my grandfather would
no.
get drunk and steal money out of my piggy bank.
Humberto, most people don't have like disposable income to like put away for
Yeah.
their kids, let alone themselves.
No, it's because I remember getting my first bank account when I was 12 or 13, around that age. But I remember distinctly going to Wells Fargo, one of the bigger banks. This is pre-2008. My parents shifted their mentality to going and utilizing small banks instead of the big banks after this crash. So there are Americans out there that have made that transition. But it is really weird when you look at the number of banks that we had in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, 14,000 down to 4,000 here in the United States.
Big problems.
I like that a lot. I'm gonna do it.
Start a bank?
No, I'm gonna do it.
We could do that
I mean,
too.
you probably could.
I want to.
I'm gonna switch to a smaller bank. I like this, guys.
Yeah, me neither. But so
I'm going to take all 40 of my dollars and I'm going to go.
I want to show you guys just how crazy this is. So I have an episode coming out either today or in a couple of days about like the craziest things that happened that nobody really talks about 2008. Because it seems like there's like nothing that the banks could do that go too far. Like Fun fact: I heard that the only reason that they let Lehman Brothers fail, because you know how Lehman Brothers they let fail, not the other banks.
Yeah.
I heard that was because like in the 90s there's this thing called the savings and loan crisis, and that the Federal Reserve got the banks together and said like, hey guys, like this entity screwed up here, so we're gonna need a collective bailout. So like bring it together, like everybody help chip in, bail these guys out. The only two that said no were Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers, and the Fed said if you don't help us, we'll never forget it.
Wow.
Yeah, and those are the only ones that were allowed to fail. Everybody else got bailed out.
That could make sense.
Like
Allegedly.
a banker vendetta.
Oh yeah, like the
Yes.
mafia. Like doesn't Jamie Dimon look like a mobster
He looks pretty
and
gangster.
talk like a mobster?
Yeah, he does.
But so check this out. So in 2000, leading up to 2008, Wells Fargo, like this from the New York Times, you know what they would call the people they were trying to loan to? They were targeting black communities that were uneducated. They called them mud people and called the loans ghetto loans.
Get out of here.
No way.
Yeah, look,
Wait,
This is New York Times.
Wells
is called-
Fargo. Wells Fargo, Ms. Jacobson said in interviews, saw a black community as fertile ground for subprime mortgages as working class blacks were hungry to be a part of the nation's homeowning mania. Loan officers said she pushed customers who could have qualified for prime loans and subprime mortgages. Another loan officer stated in an affidavit last week that employees had referred to blacks as mud people and to subprime lending as ghetto loans.
Jeez.
Quote, we just went right after them, said Ms. Jacobson, who was also white, who is white, and said she was once the bank's top producing subprime loan officer. Yep, so there you go. And that's just like one crazy thing. There's like a whole laundry list of stuff like this.
I've never even heard of mud people, and I've been around the block. I
You were in the military.
was in the military. That's a new one.
That's like
That's a new level
rancid
of
though.
racism.
And then you got HSBC that was caught red-handed, like laundering, not even just like possessing. Because you know JP Morgan, like they got caught like having money from the Epstein in their accounts and stuff.
But didn't they get sued for like
Yeah.
$200 million?
Yeah, they did a settlement, but like HSBC like got caught laundering money for the Sinaloa cartel, $800 million,
And
just got a slap on the wrist for it.
must be nice.
I like this guy so.
Which
Ooh.
ones?
HAVC, they don't ask any questions ever.
Oh no, you do take all the
They
bad
do
stuff there.
Anything, anywhere.
dumb.
Yeah.
Like if you ever leave the States and you have to bank, you go to those guys. They don't ask a single question.
Yeah. So
Name and money. That's it. They even give you a number if you don't want to give your name.
I know it's like it's legit and not in the least possible way.
It's like the Swiss banks for poor people.
Yeah.
I love it.
But so I mean I don't know like exactly how to fix this except for like with a bunch of smaller banks, but like a big problem is that our Congress like knows such little about banking and finance that like the bankers just scare the shit out of them when an emergency happens and they do anything. Like, you know, you should have seen the hearings like with the bankers trying to like say how bad it was and Congress looked like helpless and like they didn't know what was going on. So they're like
well, in 2000,
2008 and then in
I remember
2020
those.
also like Bill Ackman.
Kachkari and all those guys that were up in front.
Yeah, then Bill Ackman was basically like crying on TV, begging Trump like on his knees to give a stimulus for the stock market in 2020. So every time they like Wall Street just like whines and cries and complains like when they screw up and they get the politicians to inject a bunch of taxpayer money into the economy.
Our money.
Yeah.
I love when people say taxpayer, not you. I'm just saying in general. I want people to start saying your money, our freaking money. These scumbags keep sharing with everybody else, giving it to other countries, bailing themselves out. Dude, it drives me freaking nuts.
It's a big wealth transfer.
That's all it
There
is.
needs to be something that like
Like we needed some truly medieval shit when this happened. I can't believe we forgot about it.
I can't believe like how much did they bail them out?
I bring this up,
700 billion.
I bring this up to
Seven.
And then 6 trillion during COVID.
Vinny, and they all pay themselves bonuses of like
I can't believe
multiple
bro,
millions.
You're right. I'm on some medieval
Brandon,
shit,
how
too.
many times do I bring this up a week? At least once.
Yeah,
a
at
week.
least once.
At least once a week. It makes
That
me
we're-
angry.
that
I
we
sit
have
on
a
the
nation of
couch-
pussies for not being
I sit on
pissed
the
off about
couch
this.
And I think about this more than 9/11.
Really?
Yeah.
Just out of nowhere, you're in the back room. You just
Yeah.
say, 6 billion.
Think about this. Like they gave people fraudulent documents that told them. So by the way, like a lot of these black people that they gave these things to, they lost their homes because they said to them, "Hey, you want to refinance your house? Like you could save a couple $100 a month." They're like, "Oh yeah, sure." And then rates adjust because they snuck in that they were changing them from fixed rates to adjustable rates. So they suddenly out of nowhere had like a $2,000 increase per month in their mortgage,
Wow, they
like
can pay
overnight.
it.
And then they like lost their homes. So like 3 million people lost their homes because of this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, bankers are just.
We need more banks.
We
Yeah,
need more
Richard
little-
Werner made a great point the other day. He like broke down how like the most healthy, thriving nations are the ones with the most small banks. Because
so why don't we start a bank, Rob?
we should.
Okay.
Okay.
I know as much as apparently the bankers do about banking.
Yeah,
so
no
let's
shit.
go.
If you fail, well,
I know more.
Bail us out.
We need more things. Like, I think things are getting boring. Like, everything is the same. Like, you land on every single city in America, and it's exactly the same.
That's not true.
Like, you go.
I'm with them. I did a
No.
lot of traveling last year, and I would travel, and I'd land at the airport, and the first thing I'd see when I'd get in the car and leave the airport, we'd pass a McDonald's, a Starbucks, a Target, a Chili's, and then we'd be at the hotel, which was a Marriott. So there's
that's
like
it.
nothing of small business that exists anymore in the United States.
We do need more of that, more small business.
And we need a different meat. I'm tired of chicken, fish, and dude. And not only
Alligator,
iguana,
human.
No, I want
Oh,
something
no.
else. Yeah. What was her name? What was her name that said she would eat the flesh of her? Allegedly, what was her name? Christy Teigen was like, yeah, if I had to eat a human being, I would do it, or something like that. I might be mistaken, but go ahead. I'm gonna look it up.
I'm gonna eat a pangolin.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, we need another meat. But
Need another
still-
meat?
Yeah, we need another meat.
I mean, Bill Gates is working on it. Don't be careful what you
that
wish
one.
for.
Not
Shit.
that one.
Yeah, no, it's filthy.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, no, I think this is the biggest problem in the world. I think that like the Bible warns about usury for a reason, and like I mean they're bending us over right now and like just thrashing us. So we need to do something about it.
So if you like this clip, click right here. And if you want to see more like it, click right here. Stay angry, Patriots.